What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
With her parallel existence skill, she could effortlessly shield the Emperor while confronting his enemies, but there was no need to disclose that to anyone. As a court guardian, her duty was to protect the Emperor. She had assumed that role to gauge the response to her presence. Relying on someone else to intervene and rescue them would stunt all future growth. Any nation behaving in that manner was destined to crumble sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Velgrynd was compassionate, and she hadn't forsaken this country or humanity at large. Velzard wouldn't have bothered preserving such feeble-minded beings. Velgrynd aimed to manage everything here until Rudra's demise, but what occurred afterward held no significance to her, or at least, that would have been her mindset before embarking on this journey. However, now she had gained a broader perspective, another transformation influenced by meeting and interacting with Rimuru. What mattered to Velgrynd now was safeguarding Rudra, the people he cherished, and the bloodlines they continued passing down over time. Therefore, with each cycle, she made an effort to ensure that the people left behind after her departure weren't utterly helpless. It was tough news to deliver, but she was conveying to the audience here that she wouldn't budge for them at all.
But don't fret. I assure you that I will keep His Majesty protected, so you all just give it your best shot, okay?
In other words, prove that you've got some courage within you. With insights into the enemy's strength, the discussions at the conference shifted towards future strategies. Emperor's safety was guaranteed with Velgrynd's collaboration. The officers present, not lacking in discernment, caught the nuances of her words. They intended to devise their own plans, refraining from demanding more from her.
Keep a vigilant eye on the enemy fleet's maneuvers.
Agreed. We'll intensify our efforts to ensure constant surveillance.
How long until the Yohma complete the assimilation of their hosts?
Well, if they had abundant magicules, it could be done in a week, but given our circumstances, I'd estimate a couple of months.
In her Rudra-assigned role, Velgrynd was obligated to provide truthful responses, withholding nothing. This approach facilitated the conference in arriving at a sound consensus rather than floundering for ideas.
I speculate the enemy fleet will need at least a month to complete resupplying and necessary repairs before departing the port. Considering the timelines, can we assume they'll set out a month from now?
You think so? While it might take time to reorganize the captured crews, the alien and Chinese fleets currently operational could engage in battle once refueled, couldn't they?
If all they require is that, it's about 2 weeks from Atlantis to our empire. Weather might pose a hindrance, but...
No, it won't. Controlling weather conditions is within their capabilities. Assume they'll travel at maximum speed for us.
Right.
At this juncture, the officers were beginning to comprehend Velgrynd's demeanor. She was remarkably haughty but also genuinely helpful and caring, in her own manner. She responded truthfully to their inquiries and offered advice. Recognizing the extent of her willingness to assist, they sought to avoid provoking her. She proved to be a valuable ally, and the more perceptive among the audience bombarded her with questions, seeking to make optimal use of the available resources. Consequently, a preliminary plan of action took shape before long.
We might consider engaging the adversary on our home turf, but that leaves our courageous comrades at the mercy of their captors. We must venture forth and confront the enemy leaders ourselves.
Very true. I concur with your perspective. But the pressing question then becomes selecting the emissaries for this task.
If Ryo guards His Majesty, I harbor no concerns. I'll take on the responsibility.
Araki, your involvement would be most welcome.
Allow the entire swordsman guard to accompany him.
We'd be delighted to have you, Minamoto.
It seemed like they had a preliminary plan in place. However, Velgrynd once again interjected into the discourse.
Are you folks serious? Or are you just embracing self-destruction?
What do you mean?
The army minister stared at her, eyes gleaming with hope. He wished she might join them, but that was overly optimistic.
I appreciate your determination to handle this internally, but it won't suffice. Confronting a formidable, extensive adversary requires leveraging all available might.
Many present were perplexed by her statement, yet, a few had already deduced the answer, with the chief of the army staff among them.
Are you suggesting our nation alone won't be adequate?
This revelation surprised Velgrynd a bit. Given his initial confrontation, she had assumed he was more reckless. She nodded, relieved she hadn't dismissed him outright.
Certainly,
added the naval chief of staff.
Now is not the time for nations to clash amid this global crisis. We all comprehend that, but, as discussed earlier, military forces worldwide are spiraling out of control.
It's disheartening.
I believe we truly need support from our rival nations.
Minamoto asserted.
Approaching this with a meager force will only invite Yohma possession. Hence, we're assembling a small, elite team. We'll require other nations to contribute their elites as well.
This proposal garnered widespread agreement.
It's the only viable approach. This transcends a war. It's a survival struggle against the Yohma, and we can afford to be selective about our strategies. We must repel them before we can shape our own battle plans.
Absolutely. It's no longer confined to our empire's predicament.
Indeed. We must unite and ensure everyone is on the same page.
They insisted that there was no alternative.
Good job. You're all lacking in strength, so you must employ more strategic thinking.
Velgrynd, hearing that, flashed them a contented smile. However, to the bureaucrats in the room, the notion seemed absurd.
Hold on a moment. While it's true that every world leader must recognize the current situation is untenable, I can't believe they would all suddenly decide to join forces.
True, that would be a significant request. If we were to propose an armistice outright, obtaining immediate approval is unlikely.
I imagine we would reject similar offers.
This was a reasonable perspective. An armistice risked everything if something were to transpire during that period. To ensure the success of any truce, nations involved had to control their military actions. Yet, this was just one concern among many. Would the citizens accept it? What if a nation exploited the situation for a hidden agenda? Once suspicion crept in, it became endless. While some warned against excessive doubt, addressing these worries was necessary before expecting unity. As things stood, forming a united front appeared nearly impossible, but Velgrynd merely grinned at them.
So, you're ready to throw in the towel without an attempt? Well, if that's your choice, it's fine with me. I'll protect His Majesty and the capital under his rule regardless.
It was a deliberate provocation. The diplomatic officer had no retort.
All right, fine. In that case, I'll initiate contacts. Let's aim for sincerity and at least create an opportunity for discussion.
He almost seemed to be defying Velgrynd, and that was precisely why she phrased it that way. It had the desired effect.
We must, indeed. Otherwise, we're all headed for destruction.
We might be doomed regardless, but I'd prefer to show some resilience here.
Exactly. Even in defeat, we must resist with all our might, or I won't forgive myself.
I empathize with our citizens and my family.
We have to confront it. We're battling the Yohma, not a nation with which we can negotiate a peace treaty. It's a fight for the survival of our species, and if we lose, our nation's history concludes. We must do everything within our power now, or we'll carry the regret forever.
The officers were now stirred up, prepared to take any necessary actions, and Velgrynd couldn't have been more pleased.
There you have it. It's time for decisive action. Debating its feasibility won't help. And if you happen to mess things up, I'll find a solution for all of you.
She grinned slightly, holding onto that piece of information while others figured out their course of action. Thus began the Empire's final resistance. Situated on the far eastern side of the United States of Azalea, Atlantis, the smallest landmass, featured a tropical rainforest climate dominating its expansive territory. Yet, its uniqueness extended beyond the lush jungle. Housing both a metal-producing mine and an oil field, Atlantis had evolved into the largest military base within Azalean territory. This marked the outset of the tragedy. Ancient ruins near the military base had once existed, but they encountered misfortune when an underworld gate to another world opened directly above them. In the distant past, the indigenous people of this land had performed a ritual, an attempt to establish communication with the gods. This ritual caused a slight rift in spacetime, seized upon by phantoms who transformed it into a stable underworld gate. Utilizing the locals as hosts, these phantoms welcomed the Azaleans, eventually seizing control of the base established by them and using it as a starting point for their invasion. A man, clad in khaki camouflage, commanded a diverse crowd of people. His black hair was slicked back, his eyes sharp and cold, and a glimmer of intellectual determination shone through his glasses. Formerly an aide to Kornu in the heavenly realms, he had transitioned from being a cherub in the service of angels to a phantom. Devoid of a name, he went by Amari Masahiko, adopting the identity of the man whose body he had taken over upon arriving in this world. Some of the three phantom leaders assigned names to their followers, but Kornu didn't value his connections with his own team enough to bother. Ethnicity held little significance for the phantoms, yet Amari Masahiko happened to be Japanese. Functioning as a covert operative dispatched to Azalea for a reconnaissance mission on their military base, he wielded enough prowess to rival Kondu, the best in his homeland. Despite his skill, fortune did not favor him. Unaware of Kondu's defeat, he belatedly comprehended the true nature of his adversary, only to find himself overwhelmingly overpowered, defeated, and subsequently possessed. Enhanced through the use of battle will, his body became an ideal vessel for a phantom. More than 100 days had elapsed since this transformation, and now serving as Cornu's subordinate, a marshal class positioned at the apex of the phantom hierarchy, he flawlessly harnessed the power of this body. In terms of existence points, he was unmatched, easily reaching 10 million. Combining Amari Masahiko's own knowledge and skills, he further augmented his abilities.
Speed up the expansion efforts. This gate is too small for Cornu to traverse.
Typically, visitors from another world could fully materialize only if their magicule count aligned with the size of the underworld gate. Failing this, they had to retain their main body in their original world, dispatch a split body connected by a soul corridor, and gradually accumulate power on the other side. However, such constraints did not bind the three phantom leaders. Their souls were so infused with power that an average underworld gate held little significance for them. Manifesting them at all would require a gate with an EP rating of at least 1 million. By leaving the main body in the other world, one could revive the split body even if it perished. However, since it had not fully manifested, it would lose a significant portion of its strength, potentially over half. The only elements passed on to the new manifestation were memories and experiences, necessitating the discovery of another physical body to possess. This phantom method of world invasion clearly had its pros and cons. Expanding the size of the underworld gate would enable the split body to return to the phantom's original world with its physical form intact, streamlining the process of complete assimilation. Thanks to consistent construction efforts, the gate had exceeded Velgryn's initial estimation. Its EP rating now hovered around 100,000, enabling phantoms at the staff officer level to fully manifest without complications. Prisoners stood in a row before this gate, their minds fully dominated, and one by one, they succumbed to possession by Yohma. Inhabiting physical forms provided a significant advantage for the phantoms. It allowed them to claim the name associated with the body they adopted. As semi-spiritual entities, their inherent instability was mitigated by taking on a physical body and name, establishing a clear, unbreakable sense of self.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Havox, Speed Saber, Curtis Loban, Adrian, Kumo, Sanketh Chelu, Foolish Prophets, Ethan Madison, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Andre Hamilton, Jason Torres, Sesh. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.